Well, hey guys, I didn't get a chance to get any footage of anything today here on the farm, so I figured we'd do another one of these voiceover slideshows. They seem to work out pretty good, and I have a fair amount of pictures I'd like to share, so here we go. Here you're looking at my Massey Ferguson 750 combine. This picture was taken, I had just had the whole machine pretty well gone over and ready to go. And I was starting to work on the grain head because I had some rye that was soon ready to harvest. So you see how narrow it is in between the barn and the milk house and the firewood shed. This is over at the other farm. We could just get through there with a 6-row corn planter. It just made it. You could just squeeze through. So kind of tight barnyard over there. So then here's a picture of the back of it again. It's a real shame for that back end being so dinged up and damaged. I really tried to straighten it. It's pretty tough steel back there too. It's not just the one layer. There's 2 layers and probably, I don't know, 20-30 bolts to get it off. Probably eventually, if it wasn't hit by the train, I would have taken the time to pull it apart and straighten everything out on it. You can see the unloading auger boot is tore. Also, I did replace that since the video was taken here, or the picture was taken. Here you can see in this picture, I don't know if you can see it or not, there's a Case 580 backhoe off to the left there. This was around the time when I was doing some repairs for other people also. It was there for some electrical problems. But the issue over there was in where my shop was. I only had like a 7-foot, 8-foot ceiling, so I had to work out in the barnyard a lot of times. So it's a little bit better over here where I'm at now with a 12-foot high ceiling. But here you can see just kind of checking things out. Getting ready for the rye harvest. It was my first thing I had started farming, was planting rye. And this was actually, I don't know if this was the 2nd or 3rd year that I had had rye and was getting ready for harvest here. So kind of give you a view too of the outside of what the barn and the milk house look like there. I know I did a tour of that. I think it was Old Dairy Barn Tour Part 2. And I did do another voiceover on this Massey 750 combine. I've made quite a few videos about it. You guys are probably tired of hearing about it, but I found some more pictures, so I figured I'd share them, put them up. You can see the firewood shed there. We burned firewood over there. We went through quite a bit of it. So the other problem was this was stored outside over there for a little while till I got it in the top of the barn to try to keep the weather off of it. I had to pull the door down in the front, clean out all the crud and junk from sitting out in the weather. But overall, it did pretty good. It was a good machine. So this, I don't have any pictures of it when I was in corn with it. This next picture, this was the very first year that I farmed over at the farm. This was, I didn't have a baler yet. I didn't have a combine. All I had were some basic tillage tools and a grain drill. So there's going to be some more pictures in here of how I started farming, just to give you an idea of how I got to where I am today, where I started. Anyway, you're looking at a Case International 5140 Maxim tractor, a New Holland 575 square baler, and of course a hay wagon filled with some of this rye straw. This was my neighbor. He was nice enough to come over and bale this for me. I lucked out that he was baling the same day, so he was already out and about. They were dairy farmers up until about 2 years ago. They sold off the herd. So this was the dad that came over. He was in his 80s probably when this picture, late 70s, maybe 80s. And here's a Case International 4210 that they have, and the 4210, if you don't know, is similar to the 885 and 895 Case tractors. I guess the international version would have been the 884. They have this tractor here for running wagons, and it's also the sprayer tractor. He's got real tall, skinny tires on the back to get through the corn. They brought some extra wagons over with it. So this guy that did this, like I say, was the dad. The son here brought the wagons over. He was the one that I did the video on, tribute to a friend. He had passed away here, I guess, last year. There's a picture of him coming up here. Here, just hooking on a new wagon. So yeah, there's a picture of him coming up here. And like I say, they did a lot of work for me. They helped me out a lot when I needed help. They really probably helped me more than they wanted to at times. But hey, when you're starting out, you got to start somewhere, and they were willing to help. Here's another picture, can kind of show you the rolling hills here where he was baling, and another picture of that 5140 Maxim. I don't know how many hours is on it. I know they bought it brand new. It does have a loader for it. I know they did a lot of manure with it. It does all the baling, and it's kind of handy to have the four-wheel drive here on the hills. I know they have a 5250 Maxim, and that one's two-wheel drive. And the one year he came over to plant my corn for me, and I told him you have to go down the one side and up the other side or you won't pull the hill. It's too steep. And this old timer said it would have to be pretty darn steep till I couldn't pull up the hill. I said, all right. So he started going up with the corn planter and he spun out right away. So I told him, I said, you gotta follow the hill the way the hill is on that hill. It's hard in some spots to try to do any type of contour farming just because of how rolly it is. I did my best. It's kind of just what I came up with at the time with small equipment, and made a real nice crop. I had a nice crop of rye and some nice straw. You'll see the guy sitting in the cab here. He was the guy that had passed away this year. He was the father. He had the dairy farm. He can remember farming with horses, and he farmed with horses back in the day, and you can see where he ended up. So the progress that was made in his lifetime. I did stop to see him one time. It was a couple months before he had passed away, and I told him, I said, with the new technology, with the planning technology, with like climate field view, the precision planning, variable rate population, I said, I think that's the next step forward in farming. This is kind of going to be the new leap ahead here, I think, with tailoring each field, treating each field individually based on what it needs. I know guys have been doing this for years, but I think with technology now, it's really advancing a lot of the farming practices. And I kind of explained a little bit of it to him. I had my Climate Field View app and was kind of showing him some of the different features and different things that are available right now. So here's another shot of how steep it is. Actually, it's that corner right there on the hill, that 574 that you've seen here. They used to bale on that hill, and the guy that helps me, my other neighbor, he is in his 70s. He said that at one point they rolled the wagon around that curve there, so the wagon just dumped over and they bailed with a 574. And that was also the same spot where I went for a ride down the hill with the baler. So that's kind of the nastiest spot right there. So it seemed like nothing here with this tractor. You can see the wagon's almost empty here as he's going along. Always start on the hill with an empty wagon, and I even baled without a wagon. Of course, I only had my International 544, so there's a lot more tractor there. This next picture, this shed, you can see on the right is my 1978 International Lodestar truck that I had. Here's a front view, and my baler is off to the left. This shed needed a lot of work. I put a lot of work into this shed. It was falling down. Here you can see the new tin I put on the front. That door where my Lodestar is in, I actually removed the header and raised it so you could get in there, made it 10 feet. They were at one time the same height. I had to put cables across, collar ties, new roof on the back side, coated the front side, had to do all framing underneath. I mean, that shed ate up a lot of time and money just so I could have another place to store equipment on the other farm. There's just not that many buildings there or facilities for equipment. Everything was built for the olden days. Anyway, if anybody wonders why I have a blue Dodge, this is kind of some of it right here. The little kid is my dad. My granddad's holding him, and it would be his uncle. Don't quote me on that. He was one of the main farmers over there. Anyway, it's a good picture I like. That's a 1940s or 50s Dodge, blue Dodge. Here's a shot of my grandfather. This photo is from 1961. You can see the Oliver 77, a tractor that I would love to find but have no way to track down. I can't find a serial number. But there it is. He's pulling a Massey baler. It's either a 10 or a 12. I have to go back and look. I have the original receipt, bill of sale for that baler, and I've been told it had an international bale thrower on the back, a thrower with a separate gas engine to throw the bales into the wagon. Like I said, they were primarily a hay farm, did about 60 acres of hay for the dairy cows. But yeah, there's a lot going on in that picture. It's one of my favorites, so I figured I'd share it with you. I might have put it on Instagram already, but there it is. I have very few pictures of the Oliver 77, and that's a pretty good one there. This next photo, we go back to the late 30s, early 40s. This was mowing hay in the late 30s, early 40s. My grandfather's a little kid on the, I'm pretty sure that's a horse-drawn sickle bar, and you can see they have mules pulling the mower. In the background, it looks like they're burning garbage. There's a little bit of smoke there coming up. This was in the orchard over at the other farm. There are still a few apple trees in the orchard left, and peach trees, but you can see the mowing hay in the late 30s, early 40s. So all right, the next photo coming up, like I say, I wanted to kind of show you guys where I started, what I started with, kind of advice for beginning farmers. I had a Super C, and a lot of guys complain they can't see my face ever. Well, this photo was from, I don't know, a while ago. But anyway, 2-bottom Dearborn plow, Farmall Super C that was on the farm here that was restored. I put a homemade 3-point hitch conversion on to be able to lift that plow. And I'm hanging on the hillside here, ripping up for my crops. That's how I did it. 2-bottom, 2 12s, basically 2 feet at a time going through the sod and trying to get it done here. And because I was going along the hill, I only wanted to throw the dirt up the hill. So you can see here in this next picture, here it's going up the hill. I think that top contour was rye already that I had planted the previous year. It's a little rough, it's a little lumpy. All I had was a drag disc to try to smooth things out, but we got it in, and I think this is early spring. It'd have to be an early spring photo, and because I only had a 2-bottom plow with a 20 horsepower tractor, I had to start early. And I never got it all done in one evening. I was still working at the farm equipment dealership, so this would be after work, come home and try to get some plowing done. Even if it's just one section, that's kind of where I started. Throwing the dirt up the hill here, trying to prevent erosion, contour strip as best as possible. Like I say, I always laugh when some old timers say they started with a 2-bottom plow and a C or an 8N. I said I did too. Anyway, here's my 544 International. This was a gas with the C200 gas engine with the drag disc. I think it was the next year after this picture was taken, I did get a transport disc and a little bit bigger tillage equipment. But in the mountains here, trying to smooth this old sod out, you can see I had bungeed cement blocks on top where they have a place to put weights. I think it's one of those McCormick drag discs. A tractor's about 50 horsepower, I'd say, 4-cylinder gas engine, and it had plenty of power for that little drag disc. So I think this is the last photo coming up here. This is the top of the hill. This was flatter up here, and you can see I started tearing up along here, trying to get this old sod flipped over and try to get it ready for some crops other than hay. So like I say, this is kind of a couple pictures here of where I started and how I started, what I had to deal with when I was a beginning farmer. There's not a lot of money and equipment invested here. You can see it's just the tractor was here. It was just the money to get it restored and overhauled, and the 2-bottom plow wasn't very expensive. I did put all new parts on that and a drag disc. So like I say, starting right from the bottom. Maybe not quite the bottom, but pretty darn close. So I had a lot of equipment after this and upgraded pretty fast after. So this is where the video is going to come to an end. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and hope you enjoyed this.